I'm Gavin, and this is MLS Fantasy Picks. Before we get into round 28 picks, here's a quick round 27 recap. A tough week. I ended with 156 points for round 27. I had a week rank of 855, and my overall rank is now 29. My budget increased from $194.1 million to $198.3 million. Looking at the Champions League, I'm currently 95th out of 200. We'll get into my round 27 downfall. Quite a drop this week. Speaking of round 27, let's take a look. So what went right? A solid bench. Look at that. Well, Schulte got me a 9 on the bench, and then Evander got me a 29, which was fantastic. And then Peck with the 32. I think I ended up having Cucho, and I dropped him because he wasn't starting that first game. And I brought in Peck, which was definitely the look. Other than that, just some decent scores. Of course, a solid score with Puig and Mihailovic, but let's look at what went wrong, because that's the majority of this week. Starting with my captain of Messi. So I don't know why I do this sometimes. I think I'm having a good time by changing it up, go against my ways of captaining a starting midfielder. I thought I'd get cheeky, get cute, and captain Messi because, hey, he's Messi. Of course he's going to at least get a good second game, even if he doesn't do great in his first game. And boy, was I wrong. So definitely left a lot of points on the table. I should have captained Puig. I was leaning Puig, but hey, end of the season, wanted to have some fun. Didn't work out. We move on. All right, so let's take a look at the MLS Fantasy Picks leagues. Looking at the MLS Fantasy Picks Open League, shout out to Sneaky Pigs FC with 194 points. Just straight up solid picks all around, and with that Evander cap, love to see it. And looking at our head-to-head league, Tay finally takes over the top speed. Good looks to Sasha Juniors for taking me down in my unfortunate loss, captaining Messi, handing me my second loss of the season. All right, so now it gets exciting for the end of season head-to-head league playoffs. So the top 8 seeds from the head-to-head league now compete for our final weeks to see who will be champion of the head-to-head league. So let's take a look at the playoff picture. So we've got our first seed, Tay, versus Saka D's Nuts. In our first matchup, myself, MLS Fantasy Picks versus Sound of the Loris. Third, we've got Fantasy Soccer Data versus That's What I'm Talking About. And then Miko versus the WeeBGBs in our final playoff matchup. So good luck, everyone. It's going to be an exciting finish with our head-to-head league. All right, enough of that. Let's get into round 28. As always, getting started with our key considerations for the round. So we do have some cup competitions on Wednesday. I believe we got the Campeones Cup, which is Columbus versus Club America on Wednesday. And then we've also got Canadian Championship, which I think is the two MLS teams of Vancouver and Toronto. Can double check that. And then our third game on Wednesday is LAFC versus Sporting KC, I think, for the US Open Cup final. So yeah, look to see if, there's any rotation for fantasy this weekend. See who's starting on Wednesday. Could affect who's playing on the weekend. Our bye team this week is the LA Galaxy. And as always, keep an eye out for those injuries, reds, and yellow cards. MLS has been doing a good job sharing out their injury report and their disciplinary report before each game week. Moving right along into our player picks, let's get started with our keepers as always. So I've got a couple of keeper recommendations on the front end of a keeperoo. You could go Schulte. Columbus are away. They may be rotating, but they're playing DC, who haven't looked great, especially against my Union in the last game on Sunday. You could also look at calendar with Miami. I think Miami are playing... Who have they got? They've got Charlotte, who aren't known for their attack. I think they've been clicking a little bit better. But I'm not liking a lot of the matchups for clean sheets this week. So I like Schulte. I like Calendar on the front end of the keeperoo, and then going into the back end of the keeperoo with Fry and Seattle against Houston. Houston can score, but they're not a super high scoring team, so I think it's your best late game. I definitely see goals in that Portland-Vancouver late matchup. Moving right along to our defenders this week. So as I said, I'm not a huge fan of clean sheets this week. Not a lot of matchups look great. So I will be looking at your attacking type of defenders. So defenders I like this week: Jordi Alba, Miami versus Charlotte. Kai Wagner, Philly versus Atlanta. I don't think he's going to miss out due to yellow card accumulation, so that's looking good. And then one of the attacking Columbus defenders, whether it's Moreira, Farzi, we'll see who's starting, especially after that Wednesday Cup. And then if you are running some switcheroos, I like Reagan on the back end of a defensive switcheroo. I feel like Seattle has a good matchup, and Reagan has been the look from a fantasy perspective this year for Seattle in defense. I've also got Tolkien, maybe more of a bench play for Red Bull at home versus NYCFC. Tolkien, I think, is still on set pieces. He's in the attack. And an okay clean sheet chance, I guess. Maybe. We'll see. And then maybe you could also look at Gallagher with Austin. Austin, who have they got this week? Versus Real Salt Lake. So probably not expecting a clean sheet there, but he's been out of position and has that attacking upside. And looking at midfielders. Midfield this week, I do like Lucho. I haven't been looking at him a lot recently, but honestly, I didn't like a whole lot of midfielders this week. Matchups were tough. I think a lot of our main midfield looks for fantasy side are on the away, which you normally don't look at for MLS, but this season's been a bit different. Saying that, I still like Lucho since he's at home against LAFC. Maybe they'll rotate a bit. So since he could have a good look there, of course, you got to go with Evander. We got to go with Evander. He is just putting up huge numbers, and I don't see Vancouver being a super strong defense. I see goals on both sides of this game. Another player I like is Hartel. St. Louis are at home against SKC, who also might be rotating. So I feel like Hartel should be a lock on your team this week. Another good look is Gauld for Vancouver against Portland. I feel like he's pretty hit or miss. Either he puts up a lot of points or just kind of a dud, like a 3 or 4. But I still like Gauld, as I don't like a lot of midfielders this week. And then, of course, Mihailovic. They are away against Minnesota, but same thing goes for Minnesota. Not an awesome defense. Mihailovic has been in good form. So yeah, those are the midfielders that I like this week. And finishing off with forwards, Messi. He may have burned me last double game week, but that was my own fault. Should have just put him on the bench. All right, over that. Messi is at home against Charlotte this week. I like the matchup. Got to go Messi at striker. I've also got Cucho / Rossi. We'll see what that Columbus lineup looks like on the weekend, but it's still Columbus. They're a solid look. I've also got Rodriguez. He's been connecting quite well with Evander, and they're playing Vancouver. I think that's a great matchup. And then Suarez for Miami. I think he's a good bench play with the early game, if anything. But yeah, he and Messi, absolutely unstoppable when they want to be. And then a fun pick that I've got here as well is Ua / Baribo for Philly. I think Philly are up against Atlanta, who let in plenty of goals. And the boys have been buzzing. Philadelphia is looking good. They're scoring goals. Surprisingly, Ua has been scoring goals. Not used to that as a Philly fan. But yeah, I'm liking it. And then last striker that I would look at this week is Bouanga at LAFC, pending any rotation. And while we're here, in terms of captain picks, I do like Messi. He's definitely my captain this week. Another good look is obviously Evander. All right, so that wraps it up for me this week. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope this was helpful. It has been quite a fun 2024 MLS fantasy season as we're winding down here, looking ahead to the playoffs. So let me know any questions, comments, who you're picking this week, and as always, good luck.